It is my pleasure and honor to introduce the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Benigno S. Aquino III.
Thank you. Good morning. Please down. Secretary Greg Domingo, Secretary Ronel Mendras, Secretary Sunny Coloma, Mr. Frederick Go, Mr. Lorenzo Formoso, Mr. Mehmet Nane, of course, Ms. Tessie C. Coson, members and representatives of the Philippine Retailers Association, Federation of Asia Pacific Retailers Association member countries, friends from the business sector, fellow workers of government, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you here might know that my resume includes a stint as a retail sales supervisor for a well-known athletic brand here in the Philippines. I worked in that job for a couple of years, experiencing enough to understand how truly challenging it is to work in retail. At that time, we were introducing this brand to the Philippines, which would be in direct competition with a more established foreign brand that had been in the country for quite some time. When anyone thought of athletic shoes at that point in time, they thought of our rival. Our total advertising and promotions budget was a very small percentage of theirs. Running an occasional ad in a magazine or a newspaper was already a major event for us. For our competitor, it was an ordinary matter. As if that weren't challenge enough, our shoes and their shoes were practically the same, except for color, logo, and most importantly, price. You probably used the introductory price strategy at some point in your company's lifetimes. It can be extremely effective in getting those initial sales. However, we did not do that. We were actually selling at a premium over the regular retail price of the established brand. Even with these disadvantages, we came up with innovations in terms of our promotions and our systems, where we saw the behemoth brand reacting to every initiative we did. We had succeeded in establishing ourselves. Perhaps in hindsight, this was part of my training for a more daunting challenge when, in 2010, I was elected Salesman-in-Chief of the Republic of the Philippines. All of you here know how much easier it is to sell when you have an excellent product. The Philippines has always been that. We are blessed with an abundance of resources, strong human capital, an excellent location, and vast potential for industry growth, among many others. These would seem to ensure that the job of salesman-in-chief would be very easy. However, these qualities had been obscured by the rampant corruption and impunity that plagued the past administration, to the point where we became the laggard amongst our neighbors in so many different aspects. Establishing a new brand is already a challenge. A different one altogether is reworking an old brand, rejuvenating and reviving the image of something that may already have had negative associations with its name. And back when I first took office, the Philippines was known as the sick man of Asia. In spite of the challenges my administration faced, we were determined to succeed. Our job was to effect true transformation and convince all stakeholders, from the common citizens to investors abroad, to partner with us to rebuild the country. We had to undertake drastic reform, utilizing many of the strategies you employ. There was a need to strengthen our system and reinvent our entire image. We plugged leaks and closed loopholes in processes, instituted transparency and accountability, went after the corrupt, and leveled the playing field. We invested and continue to invest massive resources into our greatest competitive advantage, the Filipino people. By channeling funds into health, social services, education, and welfare, we empower our countrymen to take part in the growing industry and the economy at large. These past few years, we have also been conducting an aggressive marketing campaign to tell everyone that the Philippines was once again open for business under new management. Our campaign has been extremely successful. We did not only revamp our image, we also effected true change. The Philippines is now called Asia's new darling. Since 2010, we have climbed the World Economic Forum's global competitiveness rankings. When we started, we were at 85th, now we are at 47th, and we have every intention of being ranked even higher in the near future. Our GDP growth has been one of the region's fastest, clocking in at 6.2% average over the last 5 years. Last year, we broke our record for the largest ever net foreign direct investments. This is the best possible time for the Philippines to play host to this convention. I am told that the Asia Pacific continues to be the top destination for retail brands with a market of billions. You will likewise be happy to know that recent reports give us so much reason to be optimistic for the Philippine retail industry. In the Nielsen 2015 second quarter Global Consumer Confidence Report, the Philippines showed the biggest quarterly improvement in consumer confidence, rising 7 points. This makes us second only to India in terms of consumer confidence in a survey of 60 markets. It's easy enough to see proof of this in terms of apparel. We have seen the arrival and expansion of foreign brands such as Uniqlo, H&M, Herschel, Forever 21, Longchamp, Miss Selfridge, Basic House, and Cotton On, among many others. On top of this, several international food brands are now available here, including Applebee's, IHOP, Tim Ho Wan, and Ipudu. There are many more I failed to mention, but suffice it to say that the Cabinet Secretary is very happy with his current dining options. The Department of Trade and Industry has been working very closely with the Philippine Retailers Association to ensure the growth of your industry. For instance, there are the Outstanding Filipino Retailers and Shopping Centers of the Year Awards and DTI Bagwis Award for certified business establishments that recognize excellent business practices and the growth of retailers. I am certain that our efforts to capacitate Filipinos and to spur the growth of the IT, BPM, and manufacturing industries, among others, have likewise resulted in creating empowered consumers who can patronize your products and services. Those in my generation can attest to how stark the transformation has been. When I was a new entrant in the workforce, my computation showed that it would take me 20 years of work just to buy a second-hand car. Now it is very different. Early in my term, I visited an IT BPM company and I found out that they actually had investment seminars where employees were given advice on how to invest and save up to own a car in 3 years or a condominium unit in 5 years. That is the market you have today. Of course, the retail industry is not limited to shops we see in malls or highly developed complexes. A large part of retail involves micro, small, and medium enterprises operating all over the country. In the Philippines, we have a very small neighborhood store called the Sari-Sari stores. You can imagine the sheer volume of goods that passes through these small shops, as well as the number of people who derive their livelihoods from them. This is why we believe the vibrancy of the retail sector rests not simply on maintaining an empowered consumer base, but on ensuring that all businesses, including those owned by small businessmen and entrepreneurs, are managed well. This is the rationale behind our Technical Education and Skills Development Authority's partnership with Coca-Cola, namely the Sari-Sari Store Training and Access to Resources Program, or STAR program. Working together, they train owners of Sari-Sari stores in bookkeeping, inventory management, accounting, and various other disciplines, which allows them to run their businesses in a more strategic manner. The results have been much better than first envisioned. Constantly, we have heard of owners increasing their income fivefold after finishing the program, to the extent that they have somehow managed to match my own monthly income, and that is before taxes. Now, the program also focuses on training the beneficiaries on how to maximize their new income. As of September 2015, this program have trained 35,655 graduates towards our goal of reaching 200,000 individual entrepreneurs. The PRA has likewise been working with the Department of Tourism to train micro-entrepreneurs in popular destinations around the Philippines in retail and tourism trends through the Lakbay Turo para sa Micro-Tourism Enterprise Program, which roughly translates to the Travel and Teach for Micro-Tourism Enterprise Program. This creates an atmosphere of cooperation and solidarity in which each stakeholder is empowered by his fellow men to do greater things, to move every day a little bit closer to the realization of his dreams. Indeed, more professionalism on your part, the willingness to share best practices and knowledge opens up so many opportunities for everyone involved. We see this also embodied in FAPRAs and our own PRA, which strives for collective success in an industry typically characterized by intense competition. The question of how we must make the most of the future is best answered by the theme of your conference. We have to fast forward. This is not only apt for your drive to realize the potential of the Asia-Pacific market, it is also apt for us Filipinos. Whether for your sector or my countrymen, it is clear. Now that we have so many successes under our belt, now that we are realizing our aspirations, we cannot allow ourselves to backslide. This is the time to work even harder and even more closely with one another to build on what we have achieved. In a few months, our country will be faced with a choice. Do we continue along the straight path that has seen us achieve so much together, or do we allow our country to return to the dismal past? The Filipinos in this room know that their decision will determine the course of the next 6 years. Whether or not the Philippines fast forwards, and by so doing spurs growth that benefits all, from the common Filipino to the largest companies represented here today. I'm confident that our people have a clear answer in mind. They know that the depth of skill and talent in our country has yet to be fully realized, and that we need to not just continue, but double down on reform to give rise to a Philippines that is a shining example of sustainable and inclusive growth. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. May we request His Excellency Benigno S. Aquino III to remain on stage, this time for the photo opportunity with the